Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. Today I have Summer Rain on the table. I'm making her for a friend and we're going to get started on her now. She wants her to be a bald-headed baby, so we're going to make her a bald-headed baby. And I'm going to start with my blue like I always do, and I'm going to put a little bit in the corner of her eyes. That is, if I can get some blue off this brush. It seems to be totally depleted. I guess that's what I get for forgetting to dip my brushes. And I did forget. Got a tiny bit in the corners of her eyes. Put some on her forehead up here. And I may add a little tiny bit of modeling to this doll because she likes modeling. She's a doll maker as well, but she never makes any dolls for herself. She's always making them for other people. And so I thought I'd make her a doll. Let's see, I'm gonna find a modeling sponge up here. I'm only going to put one layer of one color. I don't want it to be super modeled up, but I do want it to have some modeling. And I don't know what color to use. She uses blue mostly. I think I'll use blue. Do I have a blue sponge? Probably, but can I find it? That's a different whole story. Yeah, here it is. I found it. The reason I'm using blue is she puts blue on her doll and she says she thinks it looks like veining on the head and stuff. I don't know. I'm just so skeptical about putting blue on a doll that much. Maybe I won't. I don't know if I should or not. She likes modeling, I know that. Maybe I'll do a light coat of red. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to give her some veins first. I can always put modeling between layers. It doesn't have to be totally at the bottom like that. And that was her just texting me. I texted her and told her I was going to start on her doll today. And she said, "Yay, you're always super busy, aren't you?" And I am. I'm just constantly working on dolls. I've beefed up my amount of dolls from about 60 to up in the 70s somewhere, because I'm gearing up for doll season, which is almost ready to start. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of purple on her because she has a bit of a frown on her face right here by her eyes. Coming up from her eyes. I'm gonna highlight that a little purple. I don't put much purple on my dolls because I think it's odd looking, but I do put it where they have just a little bit of indentations on their face. It does make a slightly better looking doll. Sometimes I put it around the nose right here, just where it comes right around the bulb of their nose, almost like commas, like you're putting parentheses around their nose or something. I'm going to put some inside the nose and a little bit right here coming down from right here on these little lines that come down on the cheeks right there. This is very, very, very light. They need to be re-dipped, but it's going to give her just the right amount of color on her face and a little down here on her chin as well. And you really can't really see it, not really. It just gives you that feeling that there's some kind of shadowy effect there. Oops, don't put that in the blue. Okay. Now I'm going to let her head rest a minute while I work on her arms and legs. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the color of this. And this sponge is tearing up. With the color of this vein, it's a little dark to me, but it'll be all right. Put her over here. I'm gonna do a little bit to her arms and legs as well. I want to put a little bit of blue on the bottom of her feet like I always do. I'm hoping the side of the brush has a little more blue on it than the tip did. And it does, just a little, but it's still a little bit different. I've got baby dolls at all different stages of finishedness. In progress. Got one, just got her hair, waiting on glue to dry. I've got one, I haven't even done the hair yet. I've got one that's in process of getting hair. I've got some that are finished over here, ready to put together. I pretty much have dubbed Mondays as Put Together Doll Day. Okay, let's see about the pink now. Well, it's red really, but I made her a doll a while back, and I had painted the hands and the feet a pinkish color, and she really liked that. She liked that the whole foot was that color. I've been doing just the toes here lately, but she liked it, so I'm going to give her some pink feet. She said, "Oh, I really love the way you did this doll with the pink feet." And I said, "Okay, I'll remember to do that again." This doll has been pre-sealed, but I used the older sealer that I had because it's smoother, and I don't know how she's going to feel about rough sealer. I've never made her a doll with rough sealer before. I have two kinds of sealer, but one of them is virtually gone, and that's the one I used on this doll. It's very little of it left. It's that Pratt sealer that I got from Bountiful Baby. Well, I didn't get it from Bountiful Baby, but Bountiful Baby put it out after Genesis went out of business and before they came out with the Gemini. They were trying to make their own line of stuff, and it wasn't working out well. And a lot of people didn't like it, but I did. It's smooth, but you can still ride on it. And I had used it exclusively right before I stopped. I did stop for a while making dolls. I had just decided I didn't need to make dolls anymore, and then I couldn't stay stopped. I had to come back to making dolls. But while I was stopped, they quit making that Pratt sealer, and they started making the Gemini. Well, the Gemini is rough, and if you don't cut it a little bit, it's very rough. And a lot of people equate it to sandpaper. I've had 2 or 3 people complain about the dolls being too rough, so I started cutting it. But in the meantime, before I started doing that, I had found this lady on eBay who was selling a lot of that Pratt sealer, and I messaged her and I said, I want to buy all that you have. And she made me a price. It was $2 a jar, which is very good price because most of the jars were this size. A few of them were the smaller size. That's about half of that. And but most of them were that size. And $2 a jar, they were like $12, $11 or $12 a jar when they were for sale through Bountiful Baby. And so I bought 50 jars. That's what she said she had. And then next thing you know, she's advertising she's got more. And I said, "How many more do you have?" And she said she had another 50. And so I ended up getting 100 jars, and me and my friend split them. We each got 50 jars. It was mixed though. It wasn't all sealer. Some of it was thinning medium. It was sealer and thinning medium together. And so I've been using that for a long time on my dolls until I was almost out. And then I decided, well, you know what? I have to move over to that Gemini anyway. I might not want to, but I do have to because this is not going to last forever. So I might as well get started using it now. And I had only just a couple of jars left of this smoother sealer. And when I made my friend, I've made her 2 dolls already, and I'm making her this one too. And when I started making her dolls, I started using that smoother sealer that I only had 2 jars left, and now I'm down to just whatever's in my little jar over here. And I sealed this doll with it. And I could probably seal 2 or 3 more dolls because it's in this big jar right here. And it's about half full. So that's all I have left though. So after that, it's going to just be the rough sealer. But most of the dolls I've been sealing, I've been using the rougher sealer. Because like I said, well, you have to move to it sometimes. And I'm now liking the rougher sealer better. They're supposed to have a bit of a texture to them, and I'm used to it now, and it's real easy to tell if you touch a doll if it's sealed or not. If it feels slick and shiny and smooth like a blank kit, then it's not sealed. Even this smooth sealer has a feel to it, and you can feel it. You can tell that the doll is sealed immediately when you touch the kit. Even if there's no paint on it, you can still tell. You can just go, yep, sealed, or nope, not sealed. Anyway, long story short, I'm out of that sealer. This paint is not sticking very good. This isn't as, it's good sealer. I'm not going to say it's bad sealer, but it's not as good as the Gemini. The Gemini is a better sealer, but it is a lot rougher. If you don't like rough sealer, then I can tell you 2 kinds that you don't want to use. One of them's Beatrice Clementi. That is like gravel. It is so rough. It's the roughest I've ever seen in sealer. Okay, we're going to rose up her face now. I don't know if any of these brushes have got any enough paint in them, because these purple ones don't hold the paint as well as the ones with the gold handles, because, well, they're flatter. They don't have, the bristles are tightly packed together, and they just don't hold it as well. And it's okay though. They work okay. And plus they're newer, so the newer brushes are not going to hold the paint as well as an older brush. Let me get this one. Oh yeah, that's much better. I like to be able to put a lot of color on my doll and it stay. And the more that your brush will hold, don't forget to put a little on their eyes. The more that you can get on your doll at one time without stopping and changing brushes. I put it on very dark, and then I kind of dab it around, and then I kabuki it around, and then by the time you're all finished doing all that, it's much, much lighter than what you put on in the beginning. It's going to have to be kabukied, because if you don't, the shape of it is what's so odd on their face. It's like a blob, and it doesn't feather out, and it looks unnatural. And you don't want that. You want it to look like it's really a blushed up baby, you know, instead of just a bunch of red paint on something plastic. And we're going to do probably 2 or 3 coats of it, but we're going to let it dry first. Putting wet on wet is not a good idea, because it'll start to take it off, and you'll see a spot on the doll that looks like it never was painted. And that's because it's taken the paint back off. And that's common when this is too big to do her ears with. I'm gonna need to get a smaller one. Which one do I want is the question. Let's try one of these. These feel dry, but I don't know if they are or not. I keep wetting my brushes when I use them and putting them back in the same little jar, and you can't tell which ones are the most recently wet and which ones are drier. It turns out that the drier the brush for this dry painting, the better it does. The wet colors seem a little too light to me, and you have to put so many coats of it on that you might as well just open up your jar and paint with wet paint. But the more dry it becomes, the less paint thinner that's going to be on that brush, really. And the more concentrated the paint, and the better coverage you're going to get. out of one brush, that is. You can get the same coverage by using several brushes, but we don't really want to do that. I mean, I don't. I'd rather just use one brush and get it all done with at one time. And I need to dab these ears a bit because, well, they're just going to be too starkly red if I don't. We just really want them pinkish. But don't put pink on your doll. You won't like it. It's very fake looking. Even though this may look pink, see, it's already taken the paint off. So we're gonna wait. I'm gonna dry her face a little bit maybe. I might let it wait a few minutes first while I do some more to her feet and hands. I've been working on dolls so consistently that my brushes have not had a chance to dry out. This is how she looks so far. I don't think she's dark enough, but we're gonna come back to her. Right now I'm gonna redo her feet a little bit with this darker brush. Some of these older brushes that I've been using a long time have got embedded way down into them a lot of darker paint because they've been dipped so many times. Unlike the newer brushes where you dip it and most of the paint runs off and hardly any is down into the brush, and it doesn't do as good of a job. So that's why I like these older brushes better. But if you don't start using, sometime or other, start using your newer brushes, they're going to always be new brushes that don't work good. So you have to kind of use them and redip them and use them and redip them, and that's how they become older brushes. She's just very wet. Her hands are still very wet. I don't even think I want to try to redo them yet. I'm going to hit her with the heat gun a little bit because I can't move on until I get this part done. She had a little puddle in her ear. As they start to dry, you notice they're getting a lot lighter colored. And after a bake, they're really light. So this will never be dark enough. Not to me. A little bit rashy looking. I'm certainly not indicating that we shouldn't always do our best, but when you're making a doll for another artist, they're really going to look at that doll. So you want it to be extra good. doesn't take a long time, but it does take some time to dry a doll good enough. What we want to do is have them drier because it makes the paint stick to the other paint much better. If you're trying to blush up your doll and you're having to put coats of paint on them, you don't want the paint to go on top of wet paint. That is not productive. In fact, it's counterproductive. It will start to take the paint off. I've seen it many times. Almost just like this right here on her cheek right there. I don't know if you can tell it, but it looks like the paint is actually coming off instead of going on. Sometimes when you get that, you just have to stop and bake them and then come back and put more paint on them. Because if you don't, you're going to have a lot of deficits in your paint and it's going to look a little bit funny. And that's what I'm getting on her face right now. The paint is actually coming off a little bit. It's because the paint is very wet paint. It's not what we'd call dry painting at all, really. I probably dipped these brushes yesterday. I dipped a bunch. I don't know if these were them or not, really. To tell you the truth, I just don't remember which brushes it was. I've been so busy with dolls. Gnats. They're still pretty bad. That's one thing about winter. You don't have to worry about bugs. Okay, and we're just going to let her sit for a minute. And hopefully, I think her hands and feet are probably dark enough. So I'm going to try to crease her a little bit, I think. We're going to come back to, we'll be coming back to blushing after she gets a bake because she's just not going to take enough blush to do any good until she gets a bake. Now, can I find my pencil? Here it is. Henna. I like the henna one. I'm going to do the bottom of her feet. I like to do these little crevices on the bottom of her feet. And she is too smooth to take very much creasing. It may not hold. I did notice when I started using the rougher sealer that the creasing holds a little better than it did used to hold with this sealer. So she may not get any creases after all. They may just come right off after she bakes. I don't know. They're not even going on well. I'm just probably going to stop. I'm going to try to do this foot. There's a possibility after the bake they'll become more permanent. But a really lot of times when you're not getting a good mark on your doll, it's not writing good, you'll find that the creases won't stay. And I'm going to do a little on her hands as well, just a little, because like I said, if they're not going to stay, we're wasting our time. Yeah, I think we're wasting our time. They're just not even taking well. And staying well, that's a whole nother story. I am very tired and I do not feel good. I've been skipping my shot every week, and because I couldn't get to the doctor. I don't have a car, as most of y'all know, and I have to take that little bus. They have a bus that comes around and picks up elderly people and takes them to the doctor and such. But the bus is broke down. It's been in the shop for more than 2 weeks, and I haven't been able to go and get my shot every week. But I asked a neighbor to take me, and they did, and I got my shot today. And because I'm not used to it, it's kind of gotten out of my system because it's been a few weeks since I took a shot, and I'm very, very not feeling good today. So I may not work very long on dolls today because of that. When you don't feel good, you just don't feel like doing it, really. And I have 2 dolls waiting for hair. I can do that from sitting in the bedroom. I can actually sit on my bed to do it. And that seems like I'd feel much more like doing that than I would doing this. I am very, very run down feeling. I feel like I just want to go to bed and take a nap. I probably should because I feel that way. But I just don't want to. I don't want to have to go lay down. I don't like laying down. That's all I'm going to do on creasing because it doesn't seem to be taken. I'm going to paint her lips and her nails, and then we're going to get her in for her first bake. This is going to be the shortest enhancement segment that I've done. They're usually about an hour long. I'm down to 27 minutes. Probably in about 35 minutes total, I'll be finished with the enhancements. And then she'll get a bake, and then we'll come back and try again because, like I said, it's not taking very well. Possibly because of the sealer that I used. I might have to give her a second seal. I don't want to have to do that, but if I do have to, well, then I just have to. And the paint's not taking as well either. It's this sealer. I've decided I don't like it as much as I used to. Maybe it's cut too thin, I don't know, but I don't have any more to add to it, so I can't make it thicker. And surprisingly enough, the paint thinner doesn't separate as much from sealer as it does from regular paint. So there's no siphoning off some of it to make it thicker. It's just going to be like this. And I'm probably going to reseal her because I don't want to go through this the whole time I'm painting the doll. This paint is just like almost wiping off as I'm painting it on her. So probably I'm going to get her out from her bake and I'm going to immediately seal her again. Because if I don't, she's not going to come out good. And I'd rather her be a little rough and come out good than to be real smooth and not have good paint. They just don't paint good if they don't have sealer on them. The paint wants to just almost just wipe off. I know there's a lot of people who seal their dolls at the beginning because I'm in several baby groups and they talk about it. But there's also a lot of people who don't. I don't know percentage-wise how many people do and how many don't, but I think there's probably more who don't because, well, it's not considered required. And a lot of people don't do it if it's not required. They'll say, what am I doing wrong? The paint won't stick. I said, did you seal it first? Well, no. Well, try that because it'll help. Ever since I discovered, accidentally, that sealer helps, I've been sealing my dolls always before I start painting. I did not seal Ruby or Leilani first because I was dipping them and I didn't know what would happen if they were sealed and you dipped them versus they're not sealed and you dipped them. I was pretty sure that the dye needed to penetrate the vinyl to color the doll, and if it was sealed it might not could do that, so I didn't know. I just decided not to seal them. I sealed Leilani immediately after she was dry and ready to paint, but I did not seal Ruby, and there's a huge difference in those two dolls. See, it won't even hardly take on her lips at all. It looks terrible. Not smooth, not near dark enough. I'm gonna have to seal her again. It looks like that, which is horrible. Sometimes you just have to take extra steps with your dolls to make them come out good. But she will have some color on her lips and nails when she gets sealed, which will help darken up the color faster when you start painting her again. It won't be one of those paint sticks to paint things because she'll have sealer in between the two coats, but the color will still show through the sealer, and the next layer will be darker because of that. It may not be dark, but it will be there. I just don't want to waste a bake on just her cheeks and her hands and her feet. I wanted to have all of her enhancements done, but I'm finding it difficult to do because she doesn't have proper sealer on her. Maybe I just didn't put it on thick enough. Maybe I put it on too watery before I, it was watered down to, and when I say water, I mean paint thinner. It was too diluted, maybe. I don't know. I just know I'm not happy with this sealer. And I'm going to reseal her before we come back. When we stop to bake her, when I come back, she will be resealed with the other sealer. And I don't like having to do those 2 extra bakes, but it's necessary in this case. At least I think it is. I think I'll be sorry if I don't do it. I mean, I don't like the idea of having to do it, but I just have to. Shaky hands. And maybe I can crease her after that too, because her creasing is horrible right now. It doesn't even show. The tiny bit that does show, you can't even really see it that good. It's almost like I didn't even do it. Okay. There's that one. Now let's see about her lip. Oh, I already did her lips. My mind's not with me. Okay, I'm gonna put the top back on that. We're gonna get her a bake. I don't see anything else I can do until she bakes. And then I'm gonna put the sealer on her and bake her again 2 more times. And maybe when she comes out, she'll take color better. So anyway, I'm going to remind you to please like, subscribe, and share. And happy reborning.